Islam and greetings, Moors. Welcome back to another episode of Pardon the Interjection. I am your host, Supreme L. Pardon me. I want to give high honors to Prophet Sharif Abdul Ali, some know most to as Prophet Noble Jew Ali, and all the active Moors. Here on Pardon the Interjection, we dig up information to divulge to the people in the upliftment of fallen humanity. And yes, we have fallen, my family. It's been a minute since I did a show. I've been on the good ship Jesus, or the good ship Jesus. But no, I've been in the work field or the occupation field, and just been taking care of some loose ends, should I say. But we have a special show today, and I really want to dive into this. But first, I want to read something, if you don't mind. And it is coming out of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. And it's chapter, okay, I'm a Moorish American, so bear with me. I'm not a Roman Catholic, or I'm not Roman. And I'm not good with Roman numerals, but I'm going to do what I can. But it's chapter XLII, or 11. So if the family know that, please mark that down for me. But I'm thinking it's 10L and 2, so it's something 2, maybe 32 or 22. I will get back with you on that. Okay. No, I think it's 42. I think X and L is 40. XL. Like X large, it would be 40. Oh yeah, think about that. XL 40. So I think it's 42. Okay, but if I'm mistaken, please forgive me, and I will recheck that. But it is holy instructions from the Prophet, and it is subtitled Weakness. 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 1. Vain and inconsistent as thou art, a child of imperfection, how canst thou be weak? Is not inconsistency connected with frailty? Can there be vanity without infirmity? Avoid the danger of the one, and thou shalt escape the mischiefs of the other. 2. Wherein art thou most weak? In that wherein thou seemest most strong, in that wherein most thou glorieth, even in possessing the things which thou hast, in using the good that is about thee. 3. Art not thy desires also frail? Or knowest thou even what it is thou wouldest wish? When thou hast obtained what most thou soughtest after, behold, it contenteth thee not. 4. Wherefore loseth the pleasure that is before thee its relish, and why appeareth that which is yet to come the sweeter, because thou art wearied with the good of this, because thou knowest not the evil of that which is not with thee. Know that to be content is to be happy. 5. Couldst thou choose for thyself? Would thy Creator lay before thee all that thy heart could ask for? Would happiness then remain with thee? Or would joy always dwell in thy gates? Alas. 6. Alas, thy weakness forbiddeth it. Thy infirmity declareth against it. Variety is to thee in the place of pleasure, but that which permanently delighteth must be permanent. 7. When that is gone, thou reapest the loss of it. Though while it was with thee, thou despisest it. 8. That which succeedeth it have no more pleasure to thee, and thou afterwards quarreleth with thyself for preferring it. Behold, the only circumstances in which thou arrest not. 9. Is there anything in which thy weakness appeareth more than in desiring things? It is in the possessing and in the using of them. 10. Good things cease to be good in our enjoyment of them. What nature meant pure sweets are sources of bitterness to us. From our delights arise pain, from our joys sorrow. 11. Be moderate in the enjoyment, and it shall remain in thy possession. Let thy joy be founded on reason, and to its end shall sorrow be a stranger. 12. The delights of love are ushered in by sighs, and they terminate in languishment and dejection. The objects thou burnest for nuisance with sanity, and no sooner hast thou possessed it, but thou art weary of its presence. Satiety. 13. Join esteem to thy admiration. Unite friendship with the love, so shalt thou find in the end content so absolute that it surpasseth raptures, tranquility more worth than ecstasy. 14. Allah hath given thee no good without its admixture of evil, but he hath given thee also the means of throwing off the evil from it. 15. As joy is not without its alloy of pain, so neither is sorrow without its portion of pleasure. Joy and grief, thou unlike, are united. Pardon the interjection. I have the book, and it's missing some letters and stuff like that. It's an old book, but I'm going to give it to you the best way I can, family. So pardon the interjection. And we continue. Again, 15. As joy is not without its alloy of pain, so neither is sorrow without its portion of pleasure. Pardon me. Joy and grief, though unlike, are united. Our own choice only can give them to us entirely. 16. Melancholy itself often giveth delight, and the extremity of joys are mingled with tears. 17. The best things in the hands of a fool may be turned into his destruction, and out of the worst the wise will find means of good. 18. So blended is weakness in thy nature, O man, that thou hast no strength either to be good nor to be evil entirely. Rejoice that thou canst not excel in evil, and let the good that is within thy reach content thee. Pardon me. 19. The virtues are allotted to various stations. Seek not after impossibilities, nor grieve that thou canst not possess them all. 20. Wouldst thou at once have the liberty of the rich and the contentment of the poor? Shall the wife of thy bosom be despised because she showeth not the virtues of the widow? 21. If thy father sink before thee in the divisions of thy country, can at once thy justice destroy him, and thy duty save his life? 22. If thou behold thy brother in the agonies of slow death, is not mercy to put a period to his life? And is it not also death to be his murderer? 23. Truth is but one. Pardon the interjection. Again, truth is but one. Thy doubts are of thy own rising. He who made virtues what they are, planted in thee a knowledge of their preeminence. Act as thy soul dictates to thee, and the end shall be always right. And that is coming from, pardon me, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. By the guiding of his Father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God Allah. And that was coming from, again, the Holy Quran. And that really speaks volumes if you really, pardon the interjection, that really speaks volumes if you really take a moment and look at that. It's called weakness. That chapter is called weakness. Now, pardon me, with that being said, that's going to roll us on over into our next reading. And it was some material that I had gotten from a brother. Well, I got it from his sister. And I really appreciate that, sister. And I still have love for you, sis. I really appreciate you. Always going to have love for you. And I'm going to keep her name out right now. But I am going to say what's up to my big brother, pardon me. I've been not kind of under the weather, but I haven't been taking my garlic and my nutrients. So I want to get back into doing that too, but I want to go into this with an open mind, and this is some good information that I think everybody should try to get and prepare yourself with, just in case you have to go into them tribunals, courts if they want to say, because court is outside, something held outside, open courtyard. So we can't go to court, we have to go to the tribunals. Those are tribunals, not courts. Courts meaning something outside of events held outside in a courtyard. Okay, like a basketball court. That's not even really a basketball court. It's a basketball gym. Okay, You play basketball in the gym. You don't play basketball on the court. You can play basketball in the courtyard outside. But yes, okay. But to keep it moving right along, the information is going to be really, really pertinent to people in the family. All right. I'm going to keep the brother name. Right now, he's currently kidnapped, and yes, he is a sheik. And I'm gonna keep his name to me. And but he know who I'm talking about, and his sister know who I'm talking about. And I want to thank y'all both. And the article is written by Gene Keating, and that's Jean, surname Keating. And it goes to say, I want to start out by saying that to win in court, you have to know what goes on in court. What goes on in courtrooms go back to Edward I. It's called statute merchant. And what it is a bond of merchant. B-O-N-D, partner interjection, B-O-N-D of merchants. Bond of merchants. And we continue. Or bond of record. The statutes themselves are the bond. And what they do is duplicate the statutes that they charge you under with what they call a recognizance bond. R-E-C-O-G-N-I-Z-A-N-C-E bond. Recognizance bond. And people sign the recognizance bond without reading what the bond says. I brought this to Joe's attention when he signed his bond. And what it says is that you agree to pay back the debt. When you go into court on a criminal charge, it's civil, partner interjection. Now we need to get this, and y'all really look at this and hear this out, fam. All right, because the prophet said he's going to make the European tell us the truth. All right, and here's some truth for you. Partner interjection, and we continue. When you go into court on a criminal charge, it's civil, not criminal. It's civil, not criminal. There's a book out called The Jurisdiction and Practice of the Law of Admiralty by John E. Hall. It's based on clerk's praxis, P-R-A-X-I-S, clerk's praxis, partner interjection. The clerk's praxis was a clerk of the Court of Registrar of the Court's Arches under the King's Bench. The Court of Arches is a court of probate, and John E. Hall is the one that wrote this book. This book was never intended for public viewing. We are going to try to reprint this book so that everyone can have a copy of it to read. If you want to understand how Admiralty works, this is the book you need to read, and the reason being, read the case of Waring versus Clark, W-A-R-I-N-G versus Clark, C-L-A-R-K. It talks about clerk's praxis in there, and they used it in the vice admiralty courts in the colonies during the American Revolution. This book caused the American Revolution. What they're doing is all about bonds. Pardon the interjection. Again, family, listen. What they are doing is all about bonds. When you go into the courtroom after you're arrested, they use two different sets of bonds. What they do when you're arrested, they fill out a bid bond, B-I-D bond, a bid bond. The United States District Court uses 273, 274, and 275. SF means standard form. Standard form 273, standard form 274, and standard form 275. This is the United States District Court. There is another set of bonds, And they are all put out by GSA, General Services Administration. I'm just talking off the top of my head because I have all of this stuff memorized. GSA Form SF-24 is the bid bond. Partner interjection. Okay, so when you go into these courts or these tribunals, pardon me, you should demand the bid bond. And that's Form SF-24. The bid bond. That's what you should be demanding to see, the bid bond. What is the bid bond? I want to see the bid bond. They're going to act like they don't know what you're talking about, but you have the right to demand that they show the bid bond. Okay, partner interjection, and we continue. Everyone should have a copy of the bid bond. Again, partner interjection. Everyone should have a copy of the bid bond. The performance bond is SF-25. The payment bond is FF-25A and put out by the General Services Administration, which is abbreviated GSA. The GSA is under the Comptroller of the Currency. I want to say that again. The GSA is under the Comptroller of the Currency, which is under the GAO, the General Accounting Office. Okay, you have two sets of bonds, SF-24, SF-25, and SF-25A. At the federal level, you have SF-273, 274, and 275. Okay, what are they doing with these bonds? What's going on in the courtroom is that they are suing you for a debt collection. What it is an action of assumpsit. The word presume comes from the word assumpsit, which means I agree or I presume to do. An act of assumpsit, which means I agree to a collection of a debt. If you look at these bonds, every one of these bonds, the bid bond, the performance bond, and payment bond, all have a penal sum attached to it. The reason for the penal sum, and that's PENAL, partner interjection, and we continue. The reason for the penal sum is if you don't pay the debt, you go into default judgment. That is what is going on in the courtroom. That is why all of these guys are sitting in prison wondering what's going on. If you go in there and argue jurisdiction, Jack Smith is exactly correct in what he is saying about the honor and dishonor. If you go in and argue jurisdiction or refuse to answer questions that the judge or administrator or the court addresses to you, they will find you in contempt of court and they will put you in jail. And if you read clerk's praxis, that's all they talk about is contempt. What they used to do back in Edward the First, if you owed a debt, they would send a sheriff out with a warrant to arrest you. This is all civil. This is not criminal. It's just a smoke screen to cover up what they are doing with mercantile civil law. And what they used to do when they arrest people with a warrant and brought the person into court and made them sign a bond to release until the civil suit commenced. It actually says civil suit in clerk's praxis. Pardon the interjection. We want to get that, we need to get that differentiated. Civil suit or civil and criminal. We need to find the difference between civil and criminal. Okay? Civil, you can't be arrested. You cannot be arrested in civil. In a criminal court, there is a possibility for you to be remanded or kidnapped, as we say, because crime All right, a crime. What is a crime? In order for a crime to exist, okay, and this is written down, documented. In order for a crime to be existed, or okay, let me get this right, because I want to make sure I get this right for the people, because there's so much information that we need to get out to y'all. In order for a crime to exist, there has to be an injured party, which is corpus delicti. Yes, corpus delicti, an injured person or body, or damaged property damage. Okay, which goes to, like, if you're going anywhere, you're going to vandalize something that's damaging, or if you was going to hurt somebody, harm somebody, cut somebody, shoot somebody, whatever, that's a crime. You know what I'm saying? That is a flat out crime. That's what a crime consists of. And if that doesn't, none of these things come into play, then you have no crime that exists. You can't. The only way you can have a crime is if someone is hurt or property is damaged. Any and everything else is civil. Now, I just want to throw that out there for my daughter, partner interjection, because, you know, we going through a little something, and yes, I am going to be there for my baby, okay? And check it out. And we continue. There's some transcripts made of some of my thoughts, and I'm going to write it on the board so that everybody knows how to spell. This is how you spell clerks. CLERK''S. Okay. I think this is kind of backwards, but we're gonna get it right. Yeah, we're gonna get it right. All right. Yeah, I think it was put out like that. Okay. Clerks praxis, Latin for practice. Clerks praxis is Latin for practice. If you look up praxis, it means practice. 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 This is the only book I have ever seen, and I have seen about every Admiralty book in existence. That's an actual praxis book, and it goes into everything that Jack teaches. It talks about letters of rigority, pardon me, ROGATORY. Rogatory. It talks about the collection of the debt. What they do is arrest you. Then they hold you. Basically, they hold you until the suit has been completed. And when they get default judgment on you because of failure to pay the debt, they put you in prison. Anyone who has been in jail or prison that knows me knows that I am not wrong. Attorneys are there to cover up the smokescreen. What attorneys do, because no one knows what's going on, they lead you into dishonor or default judgment, and then the court puts you into prison. Then they sell your default judgment. Who do they sell it to? Believe it or not, the United States, or the U.S. District Court, buys all of these state court. Okay, this is blotted out a little bit. Okay, well, the United States District Court, the U.S. District Courts buy the state's courts. Get on a search engine and type in U.S. courts. I spent a whole 8 hours getting in there. After you get to the U.S. courts, go to the 11th Circuit Court of the United States, Circuit 1 through 11. Click on Circuit 7. Partner interjection. Circuit 7, Circuit 7, Circle 7, Circuit 7. And we continue. That will take you into the various courts, bankruptcy, district, etc. Click on to the Northern Illinois District Court. That will take you to the clerk's office. There's a box there. Then stroll down and you will see administrative offices, where you will see financial department. It will talk about the Criminal Justice Act and optional bids. And this is all spelled out, and they're not trying to hide it. I don't know why no one has found this out before. Go down to list of sureties. Now, why do you suppose they have a list of sureties in a federal district court? When you get into the list of sureties, it will have fms.tres.gov, and that is fms capital letters .treas.gov. This is the Department of Treasury. Okay, pardon the interjection. Well, you know, Department of Treasury doesn't exist, and that's according to House Resolution 192. Brother James, representative from Ohio, James Traficant, you know, put that out there before they killed him. And we're going to continue. Okay, when you get into the Department of Treasury, you see on the left hand side of the screen, you'll see admitted reinsure, and underneath that will be a list of sureties. Then under that, the word forms. From there, you'll see about 300 reinsurance companies. They're all insurance companies. I downloaded the whole thing. I have a complete list. I also have a list of surety companies. There are two sets of companies, a list of surety and reinsurance companies. Under 750 of the Department of Treasury, they have to be certified so they can buy up these bonds. These are the people that are buying these bonds when you went into, pardon me, default judgment. And they can't buy these bonds unless they are certified by the Secretary of the Treasury. Next, click onto the word forms, and it will take you to the Miller Act, and that's MILLER, the Miller Act, reinsurance, and will list 3 different kinds of bonds. They don't use a bid bond in the district court. That's why I gave you Form 24. All of these forms come out of the GSA, the General Services Administration. Form 24, 25, 25A, and 273, 274, and 275. The 273, 274, and 275 bond forms. The 273 is reinsurance with the United States. The 274 is the Miller Act, reinsurance performance bond. The 275 is your payment bond, your Miller Act reinsurance payment bond. What are they doing with these bonds? I mean, what are they doing with these bonds? They have regulations governing these bonds. There's 2,000 regulations governing these bonds. We're going to make these available. The discs have 2,000 regulations on the CD for people who want this. If you go into these regulations, what they are telling you is they are buying up commercial items. Commercial items. They use the word commercial items, and in 2.01 of these regulations are divided up into 50 parts. There's 1,126 pages in volume 1 and 823 pages in volume 2, and they're all on the disc. And what they tell you in there is 101 defines commercial items as non-personal property. What is non-personal property? Any property that is not real estate. It means immovable. Real estate is not movable. Go into your Uniform Commercial Codes, UCCs, and look up the word movable and immovables. If you go into, and I'll read it to you so you won't think I'm making this stuff up. Commercial items are commercial paper. Pardon the interjection. I want to say that again because there's an asterisk by this, and this means important. Commercial items are commercial paper. We get that, family? Did I get that? Commercial items are commercial paper. I recommend everybody. This is the 8th edition of Black's Law Dictionary, but pardon the interjection, I would like to say stay under 4 and under, from Black Law Dictionary 1 to 4. You go past 4, then they start taking stuff out and putting different stuff in. All right, but I would say stay from 1 to 4 in the Black Law Dictionary. But here it says the 8th edition of Black's Law Dictionary. So let's see what they say, and we'll continue. I doubt if anyone in the room has got one. This thing is really good. Basically what it says is commercial paper, negotiable instruments. Anything you put your signature on is a negotiable instrument. Under your Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, which is the Lex Mercantorium, it's mercantile civil law. And the reason they use Lex Mercantorium in the courtroom is because every one of you are merchants at law. And merchants at law is anyone whom hold themselves out to be an expert because you use commercial paper. Because you use commercial paper on a day-to-day schedule, you are considered to be an expert. And this is why they are not telling you what is going on in the courtroom, because you are presumed to know this because you hold yourself out to be an expert, because you use commercial paper all the time. Every time you put your signature on a piece of paper, you are creating a negotiable instrument. Some are non-negotiable and some are negotiable. Every time you endorse something, you're acting as an accommodation party or an accommodation maker under 3-419. An accommodation party is anyone who loans their signature to another party. Read UCC Uniform Commercial Codes 3-419. It tells you what an accommodation maker is and what an accommodation party is. When you loan your signature to them, they can rewrite your signature on any document they want, and that's what they are doing. This is what is going on, and what the federal courts are doing. They are buying up these state court default judgments, and these are called criminal cases, but are actually civil cases, and call them criminal to cover up what they are doing. If you read Clerk's Praxis, you find that what they call criminal is all civil. Pardon the interjection. And that goes back to when I say, not just me, but law, a crime, in order for a crime to exist, it has to be a corpus delicti, an injured party or injured person, or damage to property damage. And we continue. They just call it criminal to cover up what they're doing. If you do pay the debt, you go to prison, bottom line. Pardon me, if you don't pay the debt, you go to prison, bottom line. I know I've been there. I told them I wanted the CUSIP number, equal Committee on Uniform Identification Process, CU or CUSIP. or CUSP, is in the DTC building on 55 Water Street. DTC is the Depository Trust Corporation. It's also called the GFCC, the DTCC, Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, the MSCC, Mutual Securities Clearing Corporation, and the NSCC, National Security Clearing Corporation, the GSCC, Government Securities Clearing Corporation. $1 trillion a day goes through the DTC. The CUSIP is a trademark of Standard and Poor's, POORS, which is located on the bottom floor of the DTC of 55 Water Street. The CUSP has what is called the CINS equals CUSP International Numbering System. For domestic, they have a 6-digit numbering system, and when they go into international, which is where CINS comes in, and ISID equal International Securities Identification Division, it's called a SID plus, ISID+. And they have a global networking system that includes Paine-Webber, PAINE, Weber, WEBBER, which has 10,000 corporations in it. They are the major stockholder in CCA, which is Correction Corporations of America, and they are in Nashville, Tennessee. Everyone should have this list, and what they have done is privatize the system. Everything, even real estate, Ginnie Mae, Fannie Mae, all of the HUD, all of this is international. Everybody is feeding off the prison system. All of the major corporations are feeding off of the prison system. How many of you have heard of the REIT, or the REIT, the Real Estate Investment Trust, or the PZN, which means Prison Trust? What about all the real estate? They own all the real estate because they hold the bonds on them. You haven't redeemed your bond, so they didn't close your account. Lehman Brothers, LEMAN, Lehman Brothers banking cartel just gave $6 million to New York, which had a deficit. You need to read this treatise. It's 15 pages and lays it all out. They don't call it prison facilities. They call them credit facilities. What does that tell you? Lehman Brothers are underwriting the prison system. Oh, pardon the interjection. That should be a bombshell drop right there. I know a lot of us know about the Lehman Brothers, or heard of Lehman Brothers. Okay? And it's just said here, the Lehman Brothers are underwriting for the prison system. Wow. Pardon the interjection. Let's continue. Here's what's going on. A contractor comes in, or any corporation could come in, and what they do is tender a bid bond to the U.S. District Court, and they buy up these court judgments. And anytime you issue a bid bond, there has to be a reinsurer. They even have a reinsurance treaty, international treaties. If you read the Constitution, treaties are the supreme law of the land. Go back and hear that again, family. If you read the Constitution, treaties are the supreme law of the land. So the treaties supersede the Constitution in actuality. And we continue. So they get a reinsurance company, to come in and act as surety for the bid bond. Then they bring in a performance bond. All of these bonds, bid, payment, and performance, are surety bonds. And anytime you insure a bid bond, it has to have a surety. Where is the surety going? It's guaranteeing or reassuring the bid bond by issuing a performance bond. That's what these performance bonds are. Then they get an underwriter, and that would be either an investment broker or an investment banker. They come in and underwrite the performance bond, which is reassuring the bid bond. What does the underwriter do with the payment bond? The underwriter takes the three bonds and pools them, and known as mortgage-backed securities. And when you pool these MBS, they're called bonds. And they're sold to a company called TBA, which is the Bond Market Association. This is an actual corporation. What they do is after the payment bond is issued to reinsure or underwrite the performance bond, which insures the bid bond, they convert these bonds to investment securities. The banks do, and brokerage houses, and they sell these as investment securities, and you are funding the whole enchilada because you got into default judgment when you went into court. All this stuff is in that treatise. There's a lot of information in that. You need to sit down and read that so you can understand what's going on before you do anything. This is why people don't win in court. If you don't redeem the bond, all this trial and presentating and dog and pony is a dog and pony show. That's what it is. It's a dog and pony show. Question. Indiscernible. Answer. Don't use a bond, use a bid bond. If you look at that bid bond, it has the principal up there. Form 24. It's got the word principal up there. You're the principal. Who is the surety? Straw man is the surety. So you put the straw man down as a surety, and you put yourself down as the principal. Then you fill out a performance bond. The performance bond is the reinsurance for the bid bond. Put yourself down as the generator, the grantor, or reinsurer. The performance bond is $274. You have three different bonds: bid bond, performance bond, and payment bond. The payment bond is the underwriter of the performance bond. You can do all three bonds. You can underwrite the performance bond and underwrite the bid bond with the performance bond. That's the reinsurer. They're doing it for you because nobody knows this stuff. You're the one that created all this mess. If you have a case pending, what you should do is go to whatever district you're in. I think Ohio is, go find the Northern District Court and type in your case number, and it will tell you about your bond. Who's got your bond? I'm going after my bond. Question. Are you the reinsurer on the payment bond also? Answer. Well, you're acting as the underwriter to tell you what's going on with the banks. The banks are all tied in with this. Every time you sign a check is a promissory note. The banks made a derivative on it. The banks do not have any money at all. A check is a promissory note, and what they do is endorse it on the back after you present it for payment and endorse it on the back without recourse. And then they sell it as a derivative. They monetize it. They monetize debt under the Monetary Control Act of 1980. They monetize it and sell it internationally. If you have a check for $100, you'll have 20 or 30 international corporations using your check. Question: is that why they never give you back the checks anymore? Answer: you got it. The question was for the audience. Why don't you get your canceled checks back anymore after you present for payment? The reason you don't get them back is they sell them as a promissory note. All personal checks are promissory notes, and the banks make derivatives out of them and sell them internationally. You're actually loaning money to the bank. You talk about screwed up. Now, you know why they have proctologists. You're loaning the money to the bank, and the bank loans it to other people with derivatives into the billions. Question: how much are they making? Answer: trillions of dollars, with a T as in Tommy. Trillion of dollars. When it goes internationally, you're getting into 9 and 12 digit figures. 9 digits is a billion, etc. Let's take a 10-minute break. Well, we're just gonna start to wind it down, and we're gonna continue this on another show. But yeah, we got to come back to part 2 because that's the end of part 1. So we're going to come back and do part 2. But I want to read this real quick. And this is coming from, our international Grand Sheik. You know what I'm saying? This is our national and international Grand Sheik, my brother. Like I say, I tell this story all the time. If I wouldn't have seen his YouTube video, driver's license fraud, I would never know who, or never would knew who I am. And this is my good brother, Sheik Taj Tariq Bey. And a dissertation on personal property. And we go into it. And he says, whenever one, by whatever the circumstance, encounters the present day Christian courts, their personal and the racketeering style methods used for arbitrary revenue raising, did the words criminality and treason ever come across one mind? Recognize that the Constitution for the United States Republic of North America and the secured due process guaranteed under the supreme law of the land, Constitution, are, with conscious effort and by conspiracy, ignored by the courts, officers, and their colluding contracted employees and personnel. The end result has been and is extortion by way of legal cannery and color of law. Do not ever assume that people who hold seats in government are honest or that they embody ethical principles. History and the records have shown that integrity and fairness have never been strong points in colonial-dominated institutions. The civic duty of every true national is to be alert and diligent at all times, and to actively secure the nation against acts of constitutional incompatibility. All and any lawful courts within the jurisdiction of the United States of North America and of the several states of the Republic, inclusive of inferior courts and their officers, are only valid by virtue of Article 3 of the Constitution. Remember, and never forget this fact about the unsanctioned non-Article 3 and administrative courts, the judges, the prosecutors, the lawyers, the esquires, and the attorneys of such unsanctioned courts are all conflict of interest officers of the courts. These non-Article 3 courts are essentially operating as private legal process banks for white-collar crime, yet are funded by arbitrary taxation. Think of the word imposter and contemplate the legal implications and liabilities involved with one who chooses to play such a role. An imposter is someone who, under pretext or deceit, assumes a position of authority or falsely presents himself or herself under assumed identity, color of law, color of authority, and color of office. Impositions and practices of anti-constitutionalism are common occurrences among them. Being the offspring of the unclean hands of the members of the Lawyers Union is the parent organization of the American Bar Association, or ABA. All Bar Association members, lawyers, esquires, attorneys, etc., swear their allegiance to the Lawyers Union. The Lawyers Union is the offspring of the National Lawyers Guild Communist Party. This documented fact of foreign law can be confirmed by research of the United States Code of Law book, Title 28, USC 3002, Section 15A. Anyone applying elementary reasoning can see the corruption. The naive among us who may think that the officers of the courts of the United States are operating in harmony with the Constitution are in for a rude awakening. They are not. The judges, prosecutors, and attorneys all take solemn oaths for the public record. They swear or affirm to uphold and to support the Constitution, yet they actively contrive against it and operatively oppose its principles. Their alien actions have demonstrated, past and present, that their honor and allegiances secretly lie elsewhere. Their deviant usurpation of jurisdiction, practices of cross-jurisdiction, and self-serving inflictions of fines, bills of attainder, and imprisonments without trials, all done under forms of color, exposes the motives of their practiced ways, assuming authority not delegated to them. This confirms the following facts. The United States courts have been subverted under U.S. demo powers by way of misreckoning and misprision of treason. Bluntly speaking, the alleged officers of the courts are waging war against the natural people and it's against the Constitution. The barristers, through their subordinate members, have established and are practicing legal processes that are foreign to the Constitution, and they are openly at enmity with the Republic. This has been and is constantly and consistently the reality and due to the traditional color of law actions initiated by the Knights of the Order of Demos. The Demo dismissive acts and deeds against the Republic are in violation of Article 3, Article V1, 1V, Section 4, and Article V1 of the Constitution for the United States of North America. Read the following articles and sections of the Constitution and examine whether or not the administrative judges, prosecutors, and the other court contractors, employees, and personnel are operating, acting, or performing lawfully. Read Article 3 of the Constitution and confirm their frauds, misprision, and conspiracy. Now, I'm going to go only... Okay, let's read a little bit of it. Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at seated times receive for their services a compensation, which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors or other public ministers and councils or consuls, consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to pardon me, to controversies, two or more states, between a state and citizen and another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming land under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign state citizens or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all the other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state where the said crimes shall have been committed. But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such place or places as the Congress may by law have directed. Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainer of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attained. This is Article 4. Okay, I get it. IV, pardon the interjection, is 4. Article 4, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive, when the legislative cannot be convened against domestic violence. And that's going to take us to the top of the hour. And we're going to come back for part 2 on another show. And like I said, I just want to put that out there that, you know, you don't, these penal codes and penal people and court people or tribunal people, and all this is a farce. All this is a farce. It's not real. They're not Article 3 courts, so you have no reason being in there in the first place. You know what I'm saying? In the first place, you don't have no reason being in there because it's not an Article 3 court. Okay? And they're not an Article 3 judge. They're administrative clerks. That's what they are. Administrative clerks. Alright? Not Article 3 judges. And like I said, that's going to take us to the top of our show. And we're going to come back with a part 2. Part 2. And like I say, don't believe me. Go. Check it out for yourself. And you'll be amazed at the jewels you'll find in your treasure hunt, family. I love you, Moors. Islam, love, and peace forever, Moors.